David comes from the Hyde Park community of Boston, and like most students from the 50s, he came from a broken home. Thompson Island was a school and a home for children from broken homes, not delinquent children, not children in trouble, but children from broken homes. David is going to speak about his time on Thompson Island and the value that he found in the discipline and the hands-on education there. In the 60 years since he graduated from Thompson Island, David's CV includes the Wentworth Institute, an associate's degree, service on a U.S. Navy submarine, a physics degree from the Lowell Technological Institute, now UMass Lowell, service at IBM, Brookfield Engineering Labs, and in the recent year, helping his wife develop a community center in one of the favelas in the city of Salvador, Brazil. So please welcome David Howard.
That's okay. Good evening. On March 6, 1950, my mother took me to South Boston, to City Point, where it was called Kelly's Landing. There I boarded the Pilgrim 3, the boat to Thompson's Island. I went across Dorchester Bay, 1.8 miles, and I began a life, as Arthur said, in a home school for boys. There are a number of points that are not necessarily in order of importance, but all interacted with us young children at that time. I was 11 and a half years old. Respect. Right off the boat, we were taught that we would address the instructors and the headmaster and the teachers as yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. Never identified them by first name. That respect began to translate towards our fellow students, and then we learned respect for property, and ultimately we gained respect for ourselves. Work ethic, good old Puritan work ethic here in Boston, was a main point of the school. All the boys worked 4 hours a day and went to classroom 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then on Saturday we worked half a morning, and then we had free time the rest of Saturday and Sunday. Responsibility. When I arrived the first evening, I was put into a room with 3 other boys. Mind you, 11 and a half years old. I didn't have a mother or a father to look after me. I had to take command of my own responsibilities for hygiene, for making my bed, for keeping picked up, responsible for being to work on time, being to school on time. All those responsibilities were on me, and we learned quickly. Discipline. Now you know that there are at least 2 definitions of discipline. We had to discipline ourselves positively to perform the work that was given to us to do our studies, to take care of ourselves in every way. And the other side of the coin is corporal discipline. Well, the headmaster and instructors on down, nobody carried a switch. There was no child abuse on Thompson's Island. What they had was a unique system where in the child's entrance to the dormitory, there was a glass bulletin board, and inside the bulletin board was a monthly chart with all the boys' names, and each day we got 5 credits. And then, of course, boys will be boys, and if we got into trouble, we got demerits. The summation of those credits was to work towards our off-island vacation in the summertime. We had sports. We had inter-school sports in football and basketball. We had intramural sports in football and basketball and softball, and we had a tennis club. We had a band. It was the oldest schoolboy band in America. Mr. Albee taught us how to play all the instruments. He taught us how to read music. He conducted the concert part once a week. When it got springtime, we went out to the football field and began to learn our marching routines. So we got off island to go to music festivals, but the most important event was we would print an invitation and send it. We had a print shop, and we would print the invitation and send it to our families and friends to join us on a Sunday in historic Faneuil Hall. I played on the stage 4 years in Faneuil Hall. And 1 year, I played a drum solo. Now, there's not too many, perhaps no one in this room that can say that they were in part of the oldest schoolboy band in America playing on Faneuil Hall. There were many jobs, but I don't have time to explain them. I'd be happy to talk to any of you afterwards. But there was one job was a boat boy, and the boat boys were chosen from from children that had responsibility and could handle that. I was a boat boy. And the ultimate job on the island was office boy. And I'm very proud of that. In the last 6 months that I was there, I was chosen to be office boy. I would go to school from 7:30 in the morning till 11:30. I would zip back to the dormitory, change out of my issued clothes to my private street clothes. I would go over to the Bowditch house and have lunch, come back and brush my teeth, zip over to the main building, up into the office, and receive the chits of errands that I had to do in downtown Boston. I had a leather satchel, and Mrs. Thomas would give me maybe $1.50 in change. I zipped down to the boat, 1 o'clock boat, over to City Point, up a couple of streets, and wait for the street trolley railroad. I'd take the trolley in to South Station. When I got to South Station, I would cross the cobblestone Atlantic Avenue and walk up Federal Street to the post office square, to the post office building, collect the mail, do my rounds, and come back to South Station, pick up the newspapers that were ordered, Record American, Herald, Tribune, Boston Globe, back to the island, and back to my home studies. And then the day came, the day that I was to leave forever my life of living on Thompson's Island. That was on June 4th, 1954, 4 years and 4 months after I had been to the island. Graduation was on the front lawn. Graduation ended. I picked up my suitcase, joined my mother, my new stepfather, and my sister, and I went down to the boat and over to City Point. And here, my whole life changed again, big time. I didn't return to Hyde Park because my stepfather lived in Winchester. So I moved into his affluent home in Winchester, graduated from Winchester High School. As Arthur said, I went down the street here on Huntington Avenue to Wentworth Institute. There I got to know Boston Museum of Fine Arts. I got to know the Jack Gardner Museum. Then I went to submarine school and got onto the USS Seawolf, the second nuclear submarine in the U.S. Navy and in the world. I got an honorable discharge from Charleston, South Carolina, and in the fall of 1960, I entered Lowell Technological Institute, studied for 4 years, and got a bachelor's degree in physics. So, what we have here is what I've tried to describe is what the outset, the output of opportunity there is for children. The same thing that all of you are helping Outward Bound with the inner city kids. Giving children opportunity. And if the child can handle it, as obviously I did, I was able to progress in life. When my wife was building the Projeto Crescer in Brazil, which is now 15 years old and attends to 185 children in very ultimate poverty, she said to me, if you want to change the world, you have to work work with children, and you have to give the children opportunity.